Hey guys, a little bit different video today. As you may have guessed already by the title of the video, we are doing some door panels today. And this is a door panel from our 1974 TR6. It's original, so we're gonna use this as a template, and we're gonna make two more for another car for a customer who wanted us to make him some panels. So let's see what we can do about that. So if you've been watching my channel for a while, you probably know that I made my own panels for the Spitfire, but I've never made any for TR6. We have custom made panels on our 73 TR6 that I restored, but I didn't make those, somebody else did here in the shop. And since it's the first time for me, I wanted to make sure that I do everything right. So the hardest part here, I guess, is this pressing, which is hot pressed here, but of course we don't have that equipment in our shop, so we're gonna have to make it with some stitching. And I experimented already. I made this trial here. I stitched a piece of vinyl on piece of, this is Thunderbolt foam, and it's 1/8, and I glued it to a piece of masonite, but it didn't look right to me. I think that's what I did on my Spitfire. I watched my old video, but somehow this doesn't look right. So I did another experiment here. First I did this one with this kind of foam. Again, it's 1/8 on a piece of cloth on the other side. We use this as a headliner in some of our builds. But again, it didn't look very, I don't know, I didn't like it. Then I tried again with Thunderbolt foam, again this Thunderbolt foam, but I cut it out behind and I just pressed this down and glued it directly to the panel. And this looks okay to me, it looks good, just it's not the same as here. It doesn't represent completely this, so it's a good idea for a different project though, not for this one. So that was yesterday, and today I decided to do the same, pretty much the same experiments, but with black on black, because here I had scrap vinyl and that's how I did it, but didn't look right. But actually today when I did it black on black, that's again the 1/8 inch Thunderbolt foam. When I did black on black, this actually looks pretty good to me, and that's what I like. I think that's what we're gonna do. I also tried with 1/4 inch foam, which is thicker, and it looks much better, but the thing is it's very, very thick. I don't want this to be, this panel to become very thick. So anyways, I think that's what we're gonna do, like this way. I also like this. This is where we have 1/8 foam and 1/4 inch foam, and I like this step here. It would be really nice if we, let's say, raise this part only up and have this 1/8, and here we have 1/4 inch. But again, it's different concept, it's not for this project. It's an interesting idea for a different project. Anyways, so after experimenting, I think this is what we're gonna do. 1/8 inch foam and stitched on top and then glued to the panel. So we also have an old panel here that was all warped. I'm not sure, maybe that's from our 73, or no, actually that's from a later car, because it has this opening here. I don't even know where it came from, but we used this as a pattern and cut our own panels here. So we have two for left and right, and we made this pattern with everything. We're gonna keep this for next time so we can cut our panels and everything. And we also have the positioning of all the hot pressed lines and the pockets, and this cut and everything. I also made a separate pattern here for the pocket. That's how it goes. So with this we can start cutting our parts and actually make something. Okay, what I forgot to mention is that this opening here for the door handle is only for 1974 TR6 and up to 73. there was no hole here. So I have it here on the pattern, but we're not gonna do it for this set of panels because what we're doing here is for 1970 car. So I'm gonna start with the pocket. Alright, so this is our pocket, but this vinyl is pretty thin, I would say, and the original pocket, the original vinyl is much more like thicker. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna line this with foam and cloth so it becomes a little bit more pliable. I don't want it to sag with time. Of course, we're gonna use elastic here inside. I believe there's elastic here. Yeah, there's a little bit of elastic inside. But elastic with time, you know, it loses its ability to stretch. Unfortunately, our compressor is not working, so I can't spray the glue. Normally, this is a sprayable glue. We put it in a gun and we spray it. Our compressor is the motor burned, so it's in service. So we're not gonna have a compressor for, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 days. So for now, I'm just gonna brush it on. I don't need to stick it really hard there. I just need it to stay until I stitch it. That's how much it needs. Foam sticks really hard, so we have to be really careful here because I want to position it perfectly. Alright, so here at the top we're gonna put a piece of cord to create piping. And let's see how that's gonna work. I hope it doesn't stretch it a lot, which it may do, but we will see. Second stitch, we're gonna have to put some elastic inside. And as I'm sewing, I'm gonna have to stretch it a little bit. So let's start it. As I'm sewing, I'm gonna pull the elastic just a little bit to put a little bit of tension. Okay, so for the actual panel, I cut this piece of vinyl and piece of foam, and now we have to just glue them together. Okay, so notice how I didn't put glue here at the edges. That's for a reason, because at some point we're gonna have to cut this up and leave only foam, only vinyl there. But you're gonna see what I'm talking about later. So that's tricky now. Okay. Anyways, I'm out here, but like I said, we're gonna have to cut the vinyl. We're gonna have to cut the foam away here at some point, so it's okay. So we want to have foam and vinyl on top of the panel, but where we're gonna wrap the vinyl around the panel, there I want to cut the foam away. So we're gonna leave this vinyl here as a seam allowance to wrap around the panel, but we're gonna cut the foam away there. And actually now we can mark everything. I'm gonna take a marker and I'm gonna mark where these holes are gonna end up, because I want to be able to align the panel after at the exact same place where it is now, and that's my only way to do it. I know it's black, but I can see it. So these two holes are aligned. Here we're gonna have the pocket on top. So that's gonna, I can actually align this hole. Yeah, I can mark these holes. Every time from now onward, we want to lay the panel on top. We're gonna look for these 3 marks. Okay, that's everything. So now we can go and make our top stitches here. And now, before we put it on the actual panel, we just need to attach the pocket, because the pocket, as you can see here, there's no stitch outside, which means we have internal stitch here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna attach the pocket like this. We're gonna just have to mark the position and then fold it up so it ends up where it belongs, and there's not gonna be bottom stitch. For this reason, we're gonna need to mark exactly where the pocket goes. So now we're gonna line up again our holes here. This hole and this hole and this hole. And here, this is the bottom of our pocket. This is where it needs to end. My stitch needs to end right there. And of course we need to mark the line on the pocket. We already have it marked, but we just need to make sure that it is still there. So when we put our pattern here, it turns out that our stitch needs to be higher actually. No, actually. Okay. So this is my new mark where I need to go, and I'm gonna go through the foam so the foam can actually be affixed down there. So I'm gonna line it up like this. I'm gonna make sure that I start right from my line. I can't go past here because that's gonna be seen. I need to stay within there. And put it like this. And here my line is gonna have to match with this line, and I'm gonna stitch it and then flip it up. Okay, so now when we fold it up like this, it ends up just below this line that we made, just like on the original panel, right? The pocket ends just below this line. Anyway, so now what's left is to take our panel and glue it on top. Here we have the hole for the thing, but we're not gonna do anything there. We're just gonna let the vinyl float on top. That's not gonna be an issue. But how are we gonna align it? That's the question now. We need to be very careful aligning it. So maybe we should cut these holes. We need to cut them anyways. And maybe this one as well. That's gonna end up inside the pocket, so it doesn't really matter. And we should put our panel down and then just lower this on top. Yes, that's what we're gonna do. Okay, now when I'm doing it, I can just lower this on top of these holes. Like that. Pum, pum, pum. Perfect. So I'm gonna put glue everywhere. Again, I don't need a lot, except I want a lot of glue inside these seams. That's important for me, to have a lot of glue here, because I want this to stick down and push the vinyl in. Other than that, I don't need a lot. Okay, now I said a lot of glue here on this. We gave it a minute to dry because it doesn't stick very well when it's totally wet. Now we're gonna lower it. Perfect. Make sure there's no wrinkles here or anything. Good. This is a pretty dull blade that I have from X-Acto knife, and I'm just gonna cut the foam around without cutting the vinyl. I'm just gonna score it a little bit. And because this type of foam just rips very easy once it's scored. Of course, we have to be very careful with the vinyl, like I said. Now that's why I didn't put too much glue here to the side, so I can separate the foam from the vinyl. So now when you wrap around the vinyl, you don't have too many layers here to create a lot of bulkiness. Perfect. What I want to do though now with a heat gun to press these down and try to keep them down. They already stay, but the heat brings the glue back to life even after it's dried, and it sticks them down. So I just use the back of a marker as a tool to push it down. think this looks pretty darn good. Almost like the original. So now we can put glue here around the edges and wrap the vinyl around the panel. Now here we want a lot of glue because we want this to stick. We don't want it to glue on us. Here at the back you see how there's this notch on the panel. This is also important because here you end up with so many materials that if you have a straight line here and you wrap everything around, then you're gonna have a big like curve here, and this way the panel is a little bit further in and when you wrap it, it becomes a straight line. So now we can shorten it a little bit actually while we're waiting for it to dry, because like I said, it needs to be a little bit dry before you wrap it. If it's too dry, you can use a little bit of heat, like a heat gun, and it's gonna bring it back to life. But you don't want too much material there, and especially you see how I didn't put glue all the way at the end. That is not gonna stick down and it's gonna be a problem. So it's very dry actually, so I don't know if it is gonna stick. Yeah, it does stick. So I'm gonna start from the corners, especially the ones that are less than 90 degrees, because there's gonna be a lot of vinyl here to pull in. So I'm gonna use some heat here to make it more stretchy and pliable. That helps the glue to stick better. Get rid of all these wrinkles here. And then, we're gonna cut them like this. Hey, it looks like a panel, eh? So now what's left is to make this cut here, shove this inside and wrap this around. But we're gonna make it the smart way. So here, if we cut where the hole is, if we cut the vinyl where the hole is, then we're gonna end up with our vinyl is gonna remain here unfolded. We need to have a little bit more vinyl that we can tuck in the hole and wrap around this way, you know what I mean? Just like here, because if we have the vinyl ends here, it's gonna be ugly, right? We need some more vinyl to do this. That's why I can feel our line here, but we're gonna make our cut a little bit further, and we're gonna make something like that. And here too. But we want the cut to cut the foam here underneath. That's why we're gonna score in the back the dowel blade, because we don't want to wrap the foam around, because you know the same reason, we don't want too much bulkiness here. We want only the vinyl to come this way. So now we can cut the vinyl like this. Okay, so because we made a cut here, now the foam peels nicely. So now we can tuck our vinyl inside this hole. And we can glue it here, and then the same way we can tuck our pocket inside this hole. Let's see how that's gonna work. And now we just need to staple it here, tuck, 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 tuck. But hey, guess what? We don't have air. So we can staple it. For now, that's the next step. But we're gonna do that when we have the compressor and staple this side, and we're gonna have, and our panel is gonna be ready. That's it. Yay! I think it looks great. All right, so I think it looks pretty good. The only thing that's missing is piping. We have a full row of that, but to attach it, we need compressor again, because it needs to be stapled to the back, and it's gonna look like this. But again, I can't blow that hard into the hose. We need a compressor for that. So we're gonna do that when our compressor is done. So we're gonna leave this one to the side, and we're gonna make our second one to this stage, and then when we have our compressor back up, we're gonna finish. Right, it's the day after, and I brought from home this little guy. Hopefully it's gonna give us enough air to shoot some staples here. So, like I said, we have to staple here, we have to staple here, and then install the piping around. Oh, just kidding, you guys. Now, let's do some piping. I'm gonna make the joint somewhere at the bottom. So there you go. They're both ready and they look good, just like original. What I forgot to mention is that if we want to turn this panel into 1974 and later, we can just cut the foam again with a dowel blade, get rid of the foam, then cut the vinyl like this. We're gonna have to make some cuts here, of course, like here, maybe 2 cuts here, 2 cuts here, 2 cuts here, and just with heat we have to stretch the vinyl and flip it around, and we're gonna end up with something like that. So we have to be very careful though how much we cut here. So we have to cut maybe this much, not more than that, because if you go all the way to the corner here, that's gonna leave a little white triangle there. so it needs to be really, you need to be really careful. And of course, when you apply heat, you have to pull and stretch and flip it around. And this way, your entire edge here is gonna be nicely wrapped. So that's it, guys. We can make our own panels. We don't need to buy them. Anyways, I think they look good. I think they look just fine. I'll keep the pattern so I can make more. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for commenting and subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.